Good evening, I'm David Brown, and this is the Northern Sun Experience. The football season is finally underway, and we got started with a whale of a matchup Thursday in Mankato. Minnesota State, the preseason conference and national number 1, hosting Minnesota Duluth, the number 3 team in the nation. A playoff rematch from last year's D2 quarterfinals, weather about 90 degrees warmer this time around, but it was the visitors who came out on fire. Drew Bauer with a 2-yard QB sneak, and the Bulldogs are up 7-0. They're up 10-0 now in the second, MSU's Ricky Lloyd going to the end zone, but the pass is picked off by Darian Fletcher for the touchback. UMD would take advantage of the miscue later in the quarter. It's Bauer to Justin Folks, 11-yard touchdown, Minnesota Duluth up 17-0. It's 17-3 now in the third quarter when the Mavs make their comeback. Lloyd to Ty Dennis, bobbles, recovers, and splits the defense, 72 yards to the house, and Minnesota State cuts the lead in half at 17-10. Field goal makes it 17-13 in the fourth, when Nick Piericini, the other MSU quarterback, takes it himself from 6 yards out. Mavs take their first lead at 20-17, and it would also be their last. Minnesota State erases a 17-point deficit, shuts out the Bulldogs in the second half, and they take the season opener by 3. Great perseverance to start the season. And a former Maverick football star continues to forge a successful career in his home state. Former Minnesota State receiver Adam Thielen survived the final cut and made the Minnesota Vikings 53-man roster for the second straight season. And as usual, he was the star of training camp, since it was held on the very field where he rose to prominence. Minnesota Vikings training camp has been held on the campus of Minnesota State in Mankato for 50 years, and Adam Thielen loves being the big man on campus well after graduating.
I saw a couple 19 jerseys up there, but I don't think they've sold too many, but I think all of them that were sold are up in the stands.
Thielen, of course, is very familiar with Blakesley Stadium, but he's also familiarized himself with a new shade of purple. This upcoming Monday will mark his 3rd season with the Vikings and his 2nd on the active roster.
Every year that I can gain experience and grow from the year before, it's a good thing, and I'm excited to see what happens this year.
Thielen contributed mainly on special teams last season, but caught more passes on the back half of the schedule, and he hopes that's a trend that continues into 2015.
Second year under Norm's offense, it takes a while to get used to, and now that we have a year under our belts, it's definitely more comfortable and things are coming easier.
While he remains on the lower end of the wide receiver depth chart, Thielen always wants to help newcomers on the team, like fellow receiver Stephon Diggs.
Any knowledge that I have that I can pass on to a guy like that, I'm going to do. He's got a ton of talent, and anything that I can do to progress his game, I'm going to help him with. And same with him, to me. If he sees anything that I need to work on, he's going to tell me.
Thielen knows nothing is guaranteed in the NFL, but he'll always enjoy the ride and the thrill of showcasing his skills in front of the fans who know him best.
It's nice to be back. The college that I played for 5 years, and just being on the same fields that I've been on forever. It's pretty comfortable, and it's nice to be back.
Thielen and the Vikings start the season on Monday Night Football September 14th in San Francisco against the 49ers. Well, when we come back on the Northern Sun Experience, more football highlights from around the area, including a very early nominee for Play of the Year in Sioux Falls.
The Northern Sun Experience on Midco Sports Network is presented by Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine and Dakota Land Honda.
Welcome back to the Northern Sun Experience. We've already seen the top 2 NSIC finishers in last season's playoffs square off, so it only makes sense to check in on the team that many believe should have been the 3rd. The University of Sioux Falls is on a mission this season to prove they deserve a chance at a national championship. And the first step toward the ultimate goal started Saturday at home against UMary. No score in the first, Luke Papillion works the play action and finds Nick Stanky in the flat, but this play is all roses, 22-yard score, and the Cougs grab a 7-0 lead. The NSIC's leading defense last year seems to have carried over. Solomon St. Pierre runs free on the blitz, forcing a quick throw, and Carter Allers benefits with the interception. After the pick, it's Papillion finding Brady Rose, 34-yard strike. That extends the lead to 21-0. It's 34-0 in the third quarter, and wait until you see this. Papillion hits Josh Angulo on the right side for a short pass, but he is not done. Makes one guy miss, reverses field, goes all the way back across, and yes, my friends, he goes all the way. 31 yards on the stats, about 65 in real yards, absolutely ridiculous. USF starts the season in style with a 55-7 win over UMary. Let's go to the other team in Sioux Falls, the newly renamed Augustana University on the road at Bemidji State. No score until midway through the second when CJ Ham gets in from 8 yards out, 7-0 Vikings. Up 14-zip at the half, but the Beavers fight back on this 1-yard plunge from Jordan Hine to make it 14-6. But on the ensuing kickoff, Jason Greenway finds a way, returning it 100 yards, coast to coast for the touchdown. Argy starts off 1-0 with a 35-14 win at Bemidji. We'll stay in Minnesota as St. Cloud State hosted Concordia St. Paul in the season opener. No score in the first, Liddell White is eyeing red, the senior muscling his way through the Golden Bear defense to the end zone. Huskies take an early lead. And if Liddell White is thunder, then Jaden Huff is definitely lightning, blazing his way down the left sidelines. 22-yard touchdown, 14-0 Huskies. 21-10 now in the third, and St. Cloud State goes back to thunder. White showing off his speed, 34 with dreads, looking like old school Ricky Williams, 17-yard score, and St. Cloud State tops Concordia St. Paul 28-10. Let's keep heading south. Upper Iowa hosting Northern State. Wolves up 3-zip in the second, but not for long. Quick pass to Trey McTaggart, eludes one defender, nice stiff arm to the end zone, 22-yard strike, and it's 7-3 Peacocks. Low-scoring affair featured plenty of field goals and a whole lot of defense. Upper Iowa would hold its lead for the rest of the game and take this one 17-6. Let's go west to Nebraska. Wayne State hosting Minnesota Crookston. Zach Osborne picking up right where he left off last season. Finds Nick Roth from 17 yards out. Wildcats up 7-0. Skip ahead to the second. Wayne's now up 29-7. Osborne 17 yards away from the end zone again, but just decides to take it himself this time. 36-7 at that point. Go to the fourth. Alex Klein gets the handoff, and he's loose. So loose he needs an extreme close-up. 55 yards to the house for Klein. Wayne State wins going away over Minnesota Crookston, 58-16. Back up north we go. Southwest Minnesota State at Minot State. Beavers down 9-7 in the second, but fighting back. Lucas Romansky to Akeel Walker, bounces off one defender, jukes another down inside the Mustang red zone, 32 yards in all. Few plays later, Romansky rolls out, takes it in himself. The extra point is no good, however, so it's just 13-9 Minot State. And that would come back to haunt the Beavers. Final play of the second quarter, SMSU gambles and it pays off. Ty Stephenson with a 9-yard touchdown. Mustangs up 15-13. Minot retakes the lead in the third, but in the fourth, Devontae Stevens gets in from 1 yard out. Extra point is good, and that would be the difference. SMSU over Minot State, 21-20. When we come back, the final game on the docket features Winona State and MSU Moorhead. See if the Dragons could christen their new field with a win next.
The Northern Sun Experience on Midco Sports Network is presented by Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine and Dakota Land Honda.
Welcome back to the Northern Sun Experience. Minnesota State Moorhead hasn't had a winning football season since 2006, so you can't really blame the Dragons for wanting something fresh to revitalize the team. That came in the form of Shields Field, a brand new playing surface for MSUM. They would put it to good use in the home opener against Winona State. Jake Hodge, play action to Preston Prince, 28-yard pitch and catch, 7-0 Dragons. Second quarter, give it to the Hog. Zane Medhog, 8-yard rumble to the end zone, 14-0 MSU Moorhead at halftime. And the offensive fireworks would continue into the second half. 28-10 now, Hodge in the shotgun fires a bullet to Adam Jiskra over the middle, 39 yards, and it's 35-10. Finally in the fourth, Hodge puts it up and Damon Gibson comes on down. Great grab falling backwards, 14-yard touchdown. These Dragons spitting some hot fire, 42-17 is your final. And while the Warriors didn't get off on the right foot to start the season, there's still plenty to be optimistic about for Winona State. In this week's Under the Northern Sun, our correspondent Justin Barrientos explores how the football team may benefit from one specific connection.
The Winona State Warrior football team struggled to a 4-7 finish last season, but one bright spot was the continued development of quarterback Jack Nelson and wide receiver Josh Mikus, who are now being looked at by professional football scouts.
That combination has been deadly. It's really fun to, to watch those two work. They spend all summer together the last 2 years, and now coming into Josh's senior season, he's a kid that's getting looked at by the higher level programs and the professional football, and they're also looking at Jack Nelson now because he's the guy throwing it to him. But Jack has the big enough arm to not out throw him, and but also to get the ball out there and challenge him. So I just think that working together over time, through some adversity together. In fact, the first pass that Jack ever threw was a touchdown in a driving rainstorm at St. Cloud to Josh. And so that combination started then, and it's even stronger today.
My arm can hopefully get it there this year again. It's 2 years now going on it, but if I underthrow him, I feel like I gotta put a little more into it, get a little crow hop into it, but usually it's right on the money.
He's very dynamic. He can do a lot of things. He can run the football when we need him to. He can scramble. He can make plays on the run. He can get up to the line. He can check out of plays, check here. He can see where he can take advantage of the defense. He does a really good job of that. He'll find the open guy. He really just brings a lot to the table for us, and he can do a lot. You've seen over the past few years what he's been able to do, and I'm looking forward to this year. I think he'll do a lot of special things.
What about Josh Mikus? What has put the attention of pro scouts on the senior receiver?
He's very acrobatic. He's a guy that can make a great play out of a really messy situation, going up in the air and making great catches, coming down hard, jumping over the top of people. He can do all those acrobatic things. And I think that, he really started to show what he could do in the bowl game a couple years ago against a corner who got drafted from Lindenwood. And he took that first one and took the doors off that kid and scored a touchdown on him or two. And that really kind of opened his eyes and opened our eyes to that kid can play at that high a level. And since that day, the change has been to get him ready to have an opportunity to play professional football. We'll see what comes from it. But to get our season underway, it's those two guys playing against whoever shows up and not worry about the rest of those things.
Josh is a great receiver, one of the best in the nation, and he's got a great speed, great size, and he's a good, reliable target, along with all the other guys we have on our receiving corps.
There's definitely things my teammates were doing, whether it's running a concept route where this route will open me up, or I'm doing the opposite, and then Jack obviously is a big part of it. He's the one throwing the ball, finding the open man. Fortunately, that was me a few times last year, but I know he's always just looking for the open man, always making the right reads and getting the ball to whoever's open.
How has Jack Nelson improved during the offseason?
I think the biggest thing is his maturity, strength. He's a lot stronger, so he can handle, he can run a little bit better. All those things is just part of normal growth for a college kid. But as a quarterback, those things, going through what he's gone through for 2 years, really gives him the set of confidence that he really, really needs to play at a high level.
I'm here for the team 100%. I just want to win. That's why I keep telling Sawyer. I keep telling him every day, it's like, I'm just here to win. I don't care how we do it, if I got to hand the ball 50 times or I got to throw it 50 times. All that matters is winning to me.
What changes did Josh Mikus make in the offseason?
He has really committed himself to the process, to the work it takes to play at a higher level. The work he put in the summer out here every single day, 7-on-7, throwing routes, all those things. When nobody's looking, those guys were working. And I think that was the biggest change in Josh. He was a really good athlete, and now he's a really good athlete that works extremely hard, and that's quite a difference. And to see that level now starting to show up on the field here during fall camp is really exciting to see.
I was open a lot, but I really didn't run that great of routes for myself personally. Coach Barbosa, who was here for a while with us in the spring, taught us really to work on our posture. So that's something that I work on, being a big receiver. Just got to focus on getting lower in my routes and getting out of cuts more easily. And Coach Z, who's here with us now, has been preaching those same things. So just working on the little things, little aspects of our route running, just how to get open and knowing the defense.
What is the outlook for this season?
I think we'll be able to do exactly what we were doing last year and maybe even improve on it too. We took a little step back last year towards the end of the season. But, me and Josh have been talking all offseason and into the season. We're going to do big things this year.
There's more pressure when there's scouts walking around practice. We have a couple here today, and, that's part of college football. And we've had others here. When Rayon was here, we had a bunch in here as well. But I think that's a fun challenge for those guys. They want to play with the most pressure on them as they can. Big crowds, big games. That's what those two guys thrive for.
It's the last go-around for me and a lot of these other guys I've been with for 5 years. So we have one goal right now. We're focused on just winning and playing well.
Here's a look at what's coming up this Saturday. Dragons hoping to go 2-0 as they visit Concordia St. Paul. Upper Iowa hoping to do the same as they head north to Bismarck to take on UMary. Sioux Falls visits Minnesota Crookston, while Winona State hopes to bounce back at home against Minot State. In the only battle of 1-0's St. Cloud State is at Augustana. Minnesota Duluth hopes to rebound from its crushing opening day loss against Wayne State at home. Meanwhile, the Mavericks look to keep momentum going in Aberdeen at Northern State, and Bemidji State is at Southwest Minnesota State to close out the schedule on September 12th. Well, coming up next, we'll run down the weekend that was in women's volleyball and women's soccer.
The Northern Sun Experience on Midco Sports Network is presented by Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine and Dakota Land Honda.
Welcome back to the Northern Sun Experience. Minnesota State's soccer team may have gone 22-1 last season, but it's that one loss that stuck with the Mavs for more than 9 months. After bowing out in the Sweet 16 last season, MSU was looking to get back on the winning track, and they opened their 2015 campaign with a couple of Oklahoma teams in Mankato, and it was Central Oklahoma on Sunday. Off the header at midfield, preseason player of the year Corey Cronforce has some open space, and she does not miss. Just 38 seconds into the game, Minnesota State has a 1-0 lead. Less than 8 minutes later, the Mavs strike again. Emily Erickson to Kiana Nickel out front, Nickel's first goal of the season, and it's 2-0. The rain would pick up in the second half, but so would the scoring. Jessica Bowe gets it ahead to Cronforce again, 3-0 at that point, and the Mavs blank Central Oklahoma 5-0. The number 2 team in the NSIC poll, Winona State, welcomed Michigan Tech to town, but it was the Huskies who jumped out quick. Already up 1-0, Lexi Herwig with a nice angle, and the visitors are now up 2-0. But just seconds before halftime, Winona State's Kirsten Winbeal fires a long-range desperation shot, nothing but the bottom of the net. Warriors cut the lead to 2-1 at halftime. And in the second half, they would take control. It's 2-2 now when Mian Bolton finds Abby Bahansky for the go-ahead goal. 3-2 Winona State comes back for the victory. To volleyball now, when Concordia St. Paul had an early season conference matchup with Winona State, Casey Williams finds Riley Hansen for the kill, and the Golden Bears have an early lead. Later in the match, another volley with Winona State, but Emma Lang finds a soft spot in the defense, just tapping it over with the left hand. And then some great defense by the Golden Bears. Not one but 2 blocks at the net by Hansen. Concordia St. Paul tops Winona State 3-1. Let's head way south to Tampa, Florida. Last year's national volleyball champs hosting the Tampa Classic, taking on Minnesota Duluth. UMD's Taylor Wisbrocker with the hammer. Bulldogs playing the Spartans tough in the early going. Later on, after a long back and forth, the Bulldogs' Ashley Hinch with the left hand put down. UMD would take the first 2 sets, Tampa would come back and tie it 2-2, but Minnesota Duluth would take it in the end. Mariah Scharf with the kill off the left side, and UMD with a great early season victory, 3-2 over the defending national champs in the University of Tampa. Well, coming up next, it's the return of DB's Picks, my top 5 plays of the past week in the NSIC.
The Northern Sun Experience on Midco Sports Network is presented by Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine and Dakota Land Honda.
Welcome back to the Northern Sun Experience. Well, back by popular demand, at least the popular demand of myself, it's DB's Picks, the top 5 plays of the past week in the NSIC. At number 5, we head to Mankato, where Ty Dennis proves to be Dennis the Menace to the Minnesota Duluth defense. The sophomore bobbles the slant pass but recovers and splits defenders en route to a 72-yard touchdown for Minnesota State. Check it out again, the bobble actually forces UMD's defender to take a bad angle, and that would clear the space for Ty to take it all the way. The touchdown cut Minnesota State's deficit in half, as they would eventually come back for the victory. The Mavs get the win, and Ty Dennis's menacing play checks in at number 5. For number 4, we go to Moorhead, where Damon Gibson plays a little basketball, boxing out his defenders and going up top for the great catch against Winona State. Take another look, Gibson goes up high and gets sandwiched between the Warriors on his way down, a great pass from Jake Hodge. Gibson had 2 catches on the night, both for touchdowns, as the Dragons burn the Warriors 42-17 and burn a spot in my top 5 at number 4. At number 3, Augustana's Jason Greenway finds nothing but green in front of him. The Vikings senior takes this kickoff 100 yards coast to coast the other way for the touchdown. Greenway gets some great blocking at the point of attack against Bemidji State, and he isn't even touched by a Beaver defender on his way to the end zone. Now, Augustana just became a university instead of a college, and Jason Greenway got his master's at number 3. For number 2, how about a buzzer-beating soccer goal? Winona State's Kirsten Winbiel fires a desperation kick from 20 yards out and swishes it. Check it out again, you can see the scoreboard winding down in the background. That cut Michigan Tech's lead to 2-1. Winona State would go on to win 3-2, but they don't get there without play number 2 of the past week. But our number 1 has to go to Sioux Falls' Josh Angulo, who only gets credit for 31 yards on this touchdown, but he probably ran twice that much in order to get there. The junior jukes out UMary defenders, reverses field, gets some blocks, and finds the end zone. Great job taking a short, simple pass and turning it into 6. USF is determined to make this 2015 campaign one to remember. They got off on the right foot with a 55-7 win, and Josh Angulo wins the first top play of the 2015 season. Well, a big thank you goes out to all of our NSIC member schools who were able to contribute their time and video for this week's show. We're just getting warmed up, folks. Tune in next week for another Northern Sun experience.